Hi, everybody. We are live. We have two. Well, this is our first year anniversary. Let's just say that much. First year anniversary. We're celebrating that. We've been around for 1 year. Welcome into the circle, Tanner, the bearded gooner, and Stan, the man from Vancouver. Welcome, folks. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we're going to do this over the next few days and weeks. So get people who've been on the channel before and come back, sort of celebrate the 1 year anniversary. Uh, And just a little footnote: I got kind of misty eyed and started looking back at some of my first podcasts to see how bad I was. But actually, I looked at the Chelsea game. We actually won 2-0 back in January, and I was surprised. I was really, really happy because we were winning. We were winning games back then. We had players like Koscielny. We had Ramsey, who was knitting our team together. We played the diamond formation that day, and we beat Chelsea comprehensively that day. And how the mighty have fallen, Stan. Let's go to you first, Stan. The mighty have fallen, but is there hope ahead?
Well, I suppose the big news of the week is manager's going to be incoming, but it's not actually been officially announced yet. And it wouldn't surprise me if I woke up tomorrow morning and there was Sam Allardyce holding his first press conference. So until I see it signed and sealed, and I see him standing up, holding up an Arsenal scarf, because you never know with Arsenal, right? I can remember being here before when we all thought it was going to be Johan Cruyff was coming in. And then they just wheeled out this guy from Japan with grey hair and glasses, and everybody was like, "Who's this guy?" So until I see Mr. Arteta holding up that scarf, it looks like it's a done deal. Where do I stand on it? He wouldn't have been my first choice. I do think that there is a risk involved. And after the experiment that we did with Unai Emery, it probably would have best if we'd gone with Arteta first, to see where we would be going. And if it didn't work out with Arteta, then we could be looking for someone a bit stronger. But I will say this, if that's who's going to be appointed, then he has my 100% backing as the new head coach of Arsenal. He has to be given a chance, and I look forward to a new era, and hope it's a successful one.
Tanner, you're just back from London yourself. Give us a little flavor of, first of all, you love the city. I know you want to talk about that. And give us a little flavor of how the fan base is feeling back in London over the 3 games that you saw.
I think probably the most accurate representation of the fan base, at least in my experience, was the Europa match. Quite frankly, I went to the 12 Pins, which is just outside the Finsbury Park underground station, and that's where we watched. And when you're in the ground and you're actually there, people are you hear it, but you don't quite hear it, if that makes sense. I could hear it, but I wasn't listening, if that makes sense. So I think the most accurate representation probably was that final Europa League group stage match last Thursday night, and listening to folks inside the pub, talking, during the game, and just very, very frustrated at the style of play, at the what seems to be obvious to us watching. I think most of us were watching on television that night, but we see things that maybe the players on the field don't see. But that being said, there seem to be some very obvious and glaring decisions being made by the players on the pitch, and so that's the state of the fan base. Frustration, I think, overall. But to Stan's point with the rumored, and I'll agree with Stan 100% on that one, boy. And please don't ever say the Sam Allardyce's name in the Arsenal ever again. Just good God.
Walrus.
Oh, Lord, it would be so bad. I mean, at that point, just resign ourselves to finishing 12th or 13th. Just, we'll be clear of relegation, but we're not going to challenge for anything else. But at any rate, the sentiment around the club right now with Arteta, the rumor. Boy, people are going to get on me for this one, but I'm going to go for it. I'm going to quote Josh Kroenke, and I'm going to say, be excited. Be excited at the not the appointment, not who, not necessarily the who, but be excited at a new beginning. Because even though we sacked Emery, we gave Freddie the interim position or caretaker for a certain period of time. If in fact it is Arteta, then I think we need to welcome and embrace a new era, a new beginning. And as Stan said, we've got to back him. This business of slating him off before he's even taken his first press conference, for crying out loud. We can't. The fan base can't turn. I'm not even going to say that quickly. They're not even turning. They're rolling out of bed, already upset at the appointment. It's going to take some time, and I think we've seen over these past few matches, especially what I was there for. This is not just down to a manager. I think it started off as Emery's problem. The problem was with Emery. I think Emery has really drilled some bad habits into these players. But at this point now, I think we're starting to see an utter lack of leadership on the pitch from the players, and just a real lack of desire, of heart. I don't think there's really anyone on the pitch that no, I shouldn't say anyone, but the vast majority of these guys, I don't think are playing for the badge. I think they're playing for themselves, for a paycheck. Sorry, I kind of went off on a rant there. Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, you did, but it's okay. 11 months ago, like I said, we had leaders. Say what you like about Koscielny, he was a leader on the pitch. Ramsey, he was the leader on the pitch, and we were winning games 11 months ago. But I saw on Twitter earlier, and I just wanted to point this out. Stan, you can probably take this on from me. We got to pay some respect to Freddie Ljungberg and the job that he has done in the 4 or 5 games that he's taken the team.
I've seen some changes. I've seen patches in games where I've seen improvement. But overall, there does seem to be a general malaise going through the team, really. I mean, some of the football that I've watched over the last 3, 4, 5, 6 games, I mean, I don't know what I'm watching. And every time a game is coming up and someone says to me, "What do you think the score's going to be?" It's just the same answer. We'll be lucky if we can nick a draw.
Yeah, you just can't predict it anymore.
I'm at the stage where I'm saying it so much, I just want to write it down on a bit of paper so that when someone asks me, I can just hold it up. We'll be lucky if we can nick a draw, because it's just the same old thing.
I think Freddie has conducted himself in a very honourable way. Done all of the right things, and we're starting to see it's the squad, Stan.
I mean, we've got the team doctor helping with warm-ups pre-game. I mean, that's where we are. We're on the bare bones of a team. And you've got to give all credit to Freddie for, juggling it as best as he can. And as you say, he's conducted himself very well in the press conferences. And I did like the way that in that last press conference, he kind of put a little bit of pressure onto the people upstairs to say, look, we're a bigger club. We can't be running on these bare bones. We've got people doing this job as well as the jobs that they're supposed to be doing as well. And I did like that he kind of was prompting them and nudging them into the right direction.
Tanner, you got any words to say about Freddie?
Oh, I echo Stan's sentiments word for word. I think he's done yeoman's work in trying to keep the ship afloat as well as he has. Really, you can't blame him for anything. You really can't. I was there at the Brighton match. And I'm telling you, that was dog shit. I'm sorry for the language. I just don't know how else to describe it. That was as lazy and effortless a match, and I don't mean effortless in a good way, a match as I've ever seen them play. And then they followed that up with the first half at West Ham, just when I thought they couldn't they could not play any worse than they played against Brighton. They go and they turn in a first half like they did at the London Stadium, and just completely take laziness to a whole new level. And I got lucky. I actually got a couple of tickets to that match, so I was there. I did see it firsthand, live in person. So the second half, once we got the goal in the second half of the West Ham match, it was like all of the pressure had come off, and a switch flipped after that first goal. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why we couldn't build on that. And I'm really starting to doubt the leadership, quote unquote leadership, of this team. I mean, it's a serious lack of leadership. It's a serious lack of camaraderie of team. There's no sense of team with this club right now. We're trotting out, 18 players match in and match out of individuals. It's not a team. They're 18 individuals, and that's a problem. You've got 3 guys really going out there and really trying to, play for the badge and play for one another.
Who are they?
Go ahead, Stan.
I was interested. Who do you think those 3 are?
Martinelli, 100%. That kid, I think he's running right now. I think he's probably in bed and he's running. It just, that dude doesn't ever stop running. Yeah. Torreira, I thought, from what I've seen with my own, live in person, Freddie getting him back into that defensive mid role where he thrives for country, where he thrived in the World Cup here 2 summers ago. I think Torreira is starting to put in a shift now for the club. And Bernd Leno, I mean, everybody talked about Aubameyang scoring goals for us at the beginning of the year. Where would we be without him? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Where would we be without Leno? I mean, he's not scoring goals, but boy, oh boy, our goal differential right now is a -3. If it's not for him, we could be at a -10, -13, something like that. So, real quick, while I mention his name, that's my shout for captain, Bernd Leno. If we get into it later, great. But I think Bernd Leno would be a tremendous captain for this team.
Good shout. And we have a good goalkeeper who's proven himself over the last couple of seasons. And can only get better with age, Stan. Arteta, Stan, what does he need to turn Arsenal around? What does he need to do? What mechanisms does he need the club to do for him in order to turn the malaise around that Tanner had mentioned?
I think, and this is probably not going to surprise anyone that knows me, is the first thing that right?
No, the first target for you.
The first thing he has to do is he has to draw a line under the Mesut Ozil situation for me. it's just gone on long enough. And I remember when Freddie came in, I very cheekily put a tweet out there that said, "How long do you think it will be before Ozil goes missing under Freddie?" And it was like, wasn't that long at all, was it? It was about 60, 70 minutes. I counted.
Yeah.
And we just go through the same cycle, don't we? Where he gets taken out of the team. We have bad results because we can't play very well anyway. There's a big shout that we've got a creative guy sat there who should be back in the team, who's earning all this money. He comes back into the fold. He has a good game. Doesn't have a worldie. He has a good game. And then he follows it up with maybe an okay game. And then his next game's always very tepid.
You're right. It's a never-ending circle because we don't have creativity from other players, but we also don't have the work rate from that player.
So, I mean, when Mikel Arteta, what does he do? I mean, does he do what Freddie does? Because, Xhaka was kind of out of the squad, wasn't he, towards the end of Emery's tenure? Does he come in and say, okay, like most managers do, everyone starts with a clean slate. I'm looking at you, Mustafi. I'm looking at you, David Luiz. I'm looking at you, Sokratis, Ozil. These usual suspects that we all know about, right? Does he draw a line under that and give everybody a clean slate? Or, Mikel Arteta, he's not coming from out in Mongolia. He's been sat here in the Premier League now for the last few seasons, and he's seen the games. He's seen these players up close, right? You know, he's seen them twice this season when we play the team, and he's probably seen highlights and other stuff as well. So
you always keep an eye on your old club, Stan. You always keep an eye on your old club.
Yeah. So he's got to have an idea already. He's got to have a bit of paper where he's got like keep, bin, you know. And I reckon that the bin column is probably a little bit bigger. But in saying that, he's still going to have to rely on some of these players, isn't he? We don't have a luxury where we can just get rid of Socrates and Luis. Who are we going to put in there? Chambers and Mavropanos? Chambers and Holding. None of those three are really quite proven yet. I do like Callum Chambers. So January comes along. What's going to happen there? Has Raul already got a shopping list? Is he going to provide some tools to Arteta? The one that I've been hearing about is Upamecano. That, you know, that was something that they tried to tie up in the summer, couldn't quite get it over the line, and that they're going back. The story is that Upamecano's got a buyout clause of about 70 million, something like that, but he won't re-sign a contract because he wants to leave. So if Arsenal go back in January with about 40 million, they might be able to get them to blink rather than them hold out and then he walks for free anyway. So what does he need to do to turn Arsenal around? He's got to sort the team out. And exactly what Tanner was saying earlier, and I heard him say this earlier on Andrew's pod from here at Dull Square, where he was saying there were no leaders in the team. We need to get that addressed straight away. Yeah. We need to have a focal point on the pitch, because Aubameyang, to me, it's obvious that from what we've been reading, we've all seen it, that he's agitating for a move. And what with his older brother, his big brother Big Willie, excuse the pun, for what he, you know, I know I'm here all week, but I mean, with what he was tweeting out as well, I'm thinking to myself, do you remember just before we got Aubameyang, we heard the stories that from Borussia that he was like a bit of an agitator, a bit of a bad influence around the dressing room. We've not seen any of that. All we've seen is the big smile. Are we starting to see some of that now with him?
Interesting. But Stan, really quickly, I want to come back to you. Ozil and Arteta, they played in the same team together. Do you think that plays any part in Arteta's thinking towards Ozil?
That all depends how Mikel Arteta wants to set the team up. Yeah. I mean, Ozil seems to be a bit of a defunct position. He seems to slow the play down quite a lot, I think. You know, everyone knows I'm no fan of Mesut Ozil, the football player. And I was reading this morning as well that he's now been deleted from all of Konami Games platforms over in China on PES, which is kind of making me think that I might go out and buy PES and start playing that. But anyway, the Mesut Ozil thing for me, we need to draw a line under it now. We really do. Yeah, for me, it just needs to be sorted out one way or the other. And I've already been talking to Fenerbahce. I hope that's true.
There's rumors every transfer window, on the eve of every transfer window.
Well, he's not going to China, is he? So we can forget that.
Not China. That's ruled out now. Unless he's going to get like a face transplant or something like that, then it's not Ozil. And Tanner, the timing is perfect for a new appointment for Arteta. Transfer window coming up. Surely he would have been asking about what funds are available and what we can do in the transfer window.
I would think. I mean, it only makes sense to, you know, assess a situation that you might be walking into, and I don't think that is I think that's a good thing. You know, when you're going to take on a new job, you need to know what the expectations are, but you also need to know what you're working with. And, you know, what the likelihood what the likelihood is of in this particular business, you know, having funds at your disposal to, to bring in transfers, or is it going to be a matter of, well, we've got to wait and see because we've got to sell this guy and this guy to raise the money to bring in this guy and this guy. So, yeah, I definitely think he would have inquired about, what are the team's plans in the transfer window. Stan, I think you probably heard me say this earlier on from Dial Square. It's not necessarily about getting the most expensive player. It's not about getting the best player. It's about getting the right player to come in. And with Arteta, he's not going to, well, any manager who comes in here is not going to have final say in what transfers are made. It'll be okay, I'm the chef. I'm the guy that's going to cook dinner. The dinner that I'm going to cook tonight is going to be chicken parmesan. So these are the ingredients that I need. Now it's up to Raul and Vinay and Edu to go and get the best of those ingredients and bring them in and let Arteta make the meal, if that makes sense. So I think that's another big thing for him, is that he had to be willing to accept that kind of a role and not have autonomous power the way that Wenger had, where transfers, recruitment, things like that began and ended with him. So there's, we've got now really 4 voices above Arteta or the new manager, whoever it will be, 4 different voices. Somebody has to unite those voices, and hopefully, if it is Arteta, hopefully that's him.
I think as well, just to interject quickly, that one of maybe the bonuses of having Mikel Arteta becoming the head coach, as opposed to someone like an Allegri or a Nagelsmann or a Ten Hag, is that he sees the Premier League, it's under his microscope on a daily basis. And, players that might sort of like be under the radar at a place like Norwich, for example, or at Sheffield, or some of these, someone like Lewis Dunk or a me, those kind of players that someone like Allegri might not be quite aware of. Mikel Arteta, he has his eye on the Premier League, and he may be able to sort of steer someone like Edu and Raul Sinieri in those directions, rather than constantly looking for who we can get on loan from Barcelona.
Yeah, that's another big thing with bringing in Arteta is, like you said, Stan. It's his familiarity with the league. It's his the diligence that he's put in with making sure that he knows his opponents in the league. So you're exactly right. He's going to know who these guys are. And we're not relying on, Raul's little black book of contacts to go and try and rip guys out of Barcelona, out of Real or Atletico, Espanyol, Sevilla, you name it, out of La Liga, basically. So hopefully, I would really, really like to see in the transfer market, if we are going to bring guys in, I would absolutely love to see them come from lower table teams in the Prem or the Championship. So we talked about that with Andrew earlier this afternoon.
And also, just when you said as well about what he needs to sort out, I was really disturbed when I read a story in the Mirror. I think it was some John Cross saying that players have gone to the board to voice their displeasure at the appointment of Mikel Arteta. Now, I don't know if that is a true story or whether he's just pulled that one out of his rear end, John Cross. But are we really in that stage now where our players are dictating to the board, we don't want to work with this guy, we don't want to work with that guy? I mean, if that is the case, Mikel Arteta, he needs to get rid of those people
straight away.
And I don't care who they are in the team. We can't have that.
No, I want players in here who are going to play for the badge, who are going to play for one another, and Ray, you asked Stan, what is one of the things that Arteta needs to do when he comes in? Mm-hmm. He has to be ruthless, absolutely ruthless. Culture change, bingo. Yeah. It absolutely has to start with, if it's Arteta, come in. And I'm all for the clean slate. I'm all for the clean slate of, okay, I'm the new guy. Now you show me. I've heard everything, from previous regimes, but now you show me what you've got. If you think you deserve a spot in this team, you show me. And if he doesn't see it, I don't care the number on the back of your jersey. You're going to sit, period. And he can't be afraid to pull that card. And look, if he's got to play the kids, match in and match out, and we get thrashed, so be it. I honest to God, I don't think we'll get relegated. But if we finish lower mid-table, and to get the problem children out of the club, so be it.
And Stan, I think that's what a lot of fans have missed this season. We have had to go with the kids, especially on the wings. Our left wing and right wing. We sold Iwobi. we sold Mkhitaryan. I think the fans have had that misconnected. They've not seen that we've had to go with the kids on the wings, and you're going to lose points every time you put an inexperienced player in the team. It's very possible you lose performance and consistency.
But also, though, the flip side of that coin is that every time I see Martinelli in the lineup, maybe on the left wing, I'm always giving a bit of hope that we might get something out of this game, because he does always seem to make something happen. If it's not an assist, it's a goal. He's always just making something happen, and it's hard to believe, isn't it, that this young kid is that bright spark that when you see his name on the lineup, you think, if anything's going to happen today, I bet you it's going to come from him. It's going to come from him.
Great point, Stan. Martinelli, 18-year-old kid. He kind of got beaten up a little bit by Walker in the City game. Men against boys. And that's part of our culture change that we need to do. We don't have our teammates sticking up for each other.
Can I make a point real quick about Martinelli and what he's bringing to the table and contrast that to what I saw? I was sat in the clock end up high for the City match on Sunday, and I saw everything. I mean, that first minute and a half, first 90 seconds of the game with his chance, and he just comes screaming down that left-hand side, obviously my right-hand side, but his left-hand side comes screaming down, and he beat Kyle Walker. He beat him clean. Here was the problem. He had no one in support. Absolutely no one in support. Aubameyang was literally jogging down the middle of the pitch, was not in a position to accept a ball for Martinelli to pass the ball back to Aubameyang, who would have, there was no one. Ederson was 3 to 5 feet outside of the net. There was nobody there to stop a shot. And that's why Martinelli had no choice but to take a shot at a very bad angle, basically right into Ederson. He had no support. And that alone shows you, here's a kid, 18 years old, probably doesn't speak a lick of English. And what English he does speak is very broken, I'm sure. One of the biggest cities in the world, culture shock to the max. And he's out there putting in that kind of a shift. Are you kidding me? And here's a 60 million pound pure goal scorer who shared the golden boot in the league last year. I'm going to stand here and have a cup of coffee and read the newspaper. I'll see what he can do. Let him handle it. Purely unacceptable to me. Purely unacceptable.
Yeah, and he really went missing in that game up against Otamendi.
Yeah.
But let's delve further into this culture change. Mikel Arteta, is he the right man to shake things up, Stan?
This is something that I'm kind of concerned about. That I said a few moments ago, if you've got players, if it's true that they're going to the board and say, we don't really fancy this guy, why can't you go and look at this guy? That's not a good start. That is not a good start. And the players didn't seem to respond much under Freddie either, did they? It was obvious that it wasn't working under Emery. So the board they acted, they got rid of Emery. They put in lovely Freddie. Everybody loves Freddie. Well, it seemed like these players didn't love Freddie because they didn't do. Where was the new manager bounce? We saw it at Everton with Duncan Ferguson, right?
It was a blip.
We saw it with Everton with Duncan Ferguson, and it's a similar story. Yeah, he's their club legend. He's gone in to take over. We've done the same thing. Nothing.
We're looking on enviously as these clubs are getting a bounce from their coach change, the previous players that they loved coming in to caretake the team. But Tanner, I do believe watching Mikel Arteta in his playing days, he did have a little bit of a razor side to him. He had that red mist. So I'm hanging my hat on that he can do that within the dressing room.
I think if the John Cross rumors are true, again, then get these guys out of here because they don't want to be here anyway. Who are they going to play for? They're going to play for Ancelotti. Why are they going to play for Ancelotti? Because Ancelotti is infamous for his easy training sessions.
Exactly.
For being he's the coach, or he's the player's coach. he's not really pushing them to do.
They wanted the soft touch. They wanted. I get the soft touch guy in that. The old guy that we can just do whatever we want. That's what we want.
No, is Arteta the right guy for the job? To your question, Ray. The jury will be out for a little while on that. I honestly think the only reason he didn't get the job over Emery is because the decision makers at the time, and let's remember to include Ivan Gazidis in that category, were afraid. They were scared off by the lack of experience, like many in the fan base, at least from what I see on Twitter. Anyway, a lot in the fan base don't want him because of the lack of experience. That is the con. There is no other con. I sat down the other night and I made a list of pros and cons. The only con I came up with was lack of experience, period. And you know what? That's not a bad thing because Ancelotti comes in with his habits already formed. You know what you're going to get with him. Mourinho is already going to come in, obviously that ship sailed, but Mourinho would have come in with his style already established. You know what you're going to get. Arteta's a bit of a blank slate with this because hasn't done it yet. So maybe he can adapt and say, okay, this isn't working. I need to tweak my style and my system a little bit. And then it's going to be a kind of a learn on the go process for Arteta, just as much as it will be for the players learning him, if that makes sense. So I'm excited about Arteta. I really am. So, getting more excited by the day. So
I'm excited about Arteta as well. Lombard Camp, it's time to recognize some comments in here. We had 15 years to kick on from fourth. Now everyone's overtaken us. The boat is sailed now, especially if we get Arteta. There's some valid points there. We are probably, let's not expect a miracle till the end of the season. We're not going to fly up the league table and be second or third, right, Stan? We have to set expectations and reality here.
I'm interested to ask. I mean, when Emery originally was appointed, I said that I would not make any comment and I would give him until this Christmas / January before I would make a decision on whether I felt Unai Emery was good enough to be our head coach. Okay, I ended up making my decision 2 months before my original because it was that glaring. So I'm interested to know now if Mikel Arteta is going to be our new head coach. How long are you going to give him until you will definitively turn around and say, yeah, I'm really happy. I'm glad we appointed him as the man for the job, or no, I don't think this is quite working out.
Is that a question to me?
Yeah, so I'm asking both. Yeah.
I'd like to give him at least a year, and that's a calendar year. Finish out the season, see how we do, and then he's got hopefully 2 transfer windows, January and summertime, to do something. And we see how it goes in the first 3 months of next season.
No, go ahead, Ray.
No, you go, Tanner.
Go on.
No, this is going to be a very diplomatic and politically correct answer. But how long am I willing to give him? I am willing to give him as long as the results dictate. Or performances dictate. I shouldn't say results. The results don't always come. You play well, a bad bounce here or there, things don't go your way. With Emery, Stan, like you said, you say it at first, I'm going to give him 2 years, but then you had to change your mind about that because the performances were so glaringly bad. So under Arteta, he has as much time as the performances on the pitch justify him being in the position. The minute that we get into this stretch of like we had with Emery, where things just aren't working, that's how long he's got. I would like to say at least 2 years. I would like to say honestly at least 2.5. I'm going to count this as a half season, the January transfer window, the next summer, and then 2 years from there. That's ideal.
Won't you know, Tanner, after a calendar year, like I said, what direction we're going to be going in?
I think by then, you'll know Well, when you say direction, I guess define direction.
Growing up,
Well,
progression.
I guess the fear that the pattern that I don't want to see us get into is you can't change all 18 players at once.
Yeah.
What do? You change the coach. If the coach doesn't give us the results, if we're not pointing up by the end of this season, does that mean Arteta didn't do a good job, or does that mean we still don't have the right players in place?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's a double-edged sword, and to me, you can't keep changing coaches without changing the ingredients. Back to the cooking analogy. At some point, someone will have to stand up and say, okay, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And under Emery, that's exactly what we were doing. Same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Oh, this will be the game that he finally figures it out. I think we'll know in short order what Arteta's master plan is. I think we're going to know in pretty short order. And when I say short order, I'm going to go into the beginning of next season only because he may not like everything he has to work with. So from now till the end of the season, you look at the makeup of the squad, and he says, okay, I can't do this because I don't have this.
Yeah.
But I can do this because I have this.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to play that high press the same way City did because the bulk of our talent is in our attack. So maybe he said, look, I'm going to concede 2 goals a game, but I'm going to play a style that should lend itself to scoring 4, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I put it to both of you. Should we not know after 6 weeks at the end of January what direction and what mindset Arteta's got for the club?
I like the term mindset. That's exactly it. I like the term mindset. Sorry, Stan. Let me go first here real quick. Yes, I would agree with that 100%. I think by the end of January, we should know exactly what Michael Arteta is thinking, the direction that he wants to the direction he wants to take the team is up. He wants to win trophies. That's the direction he wants to go. But I think we need we need to see a definitive style from him, or transparency that basically says, look, this is what I'm doing because this is the club that I inherited. I want to change a few things, but it's going to take a transfer window or 2 to do that. Go ahead, Stan. What are your thoughts on it?
I think he's obviously going to have a style in his mind that he knows is his end goal. This is how I want us to play. But I'm not sure whether he's going to be able to implement it straight away because of the personnel. Like you say, Anna, there's only so much you can do in January.
If we see some moves and shakes in January that gives us an inkling that the right ingredients to Tanner's recipe is coming.
You need to trademark that quote now, Tanner.
I might have to.
Check out.
Well, I want to see T-shirts. You should get T-shirts. The bearded gooner brings you the rest.
Yeah.
For that. You can have that one. I won't charge
Sports panelist. The bearded.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much that he's going to be able to do in January, right? The fact of the matter is, the half a dozen or so players that are the usual suspects that we think should be moved on, I think a lot of them are still going to be here by the summer. So by then, as I say, he's probably going to have a style of play that he wants us to do, but we're probably going to get there in stages. For he might like a midfield diamond, but because we don't have the right personnel for that, he may have 2 screening players in front of the defence until he has the right guy where he only needs to have 1 DM, something like that, for example. So answering my own question about how long am I going to give him, I like Tanner's answer. You give him as long as, how the results go. But if I had to pin myself to an actual time frame, I would probably say not this summer, but the next summer, we would have had an opportunity then to see 3 or 4 transfer windows go by. We also then get an understanding of how much KSE is going to back our new head coach. We would have seen enough press conferences to see whether yeah, he looks happy, or whether he's saying, whether he's going down the Pochettino road and he's like, well, I'm just a fucking head coach. I don't get to say anything, blah, 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 blah. We're going to get an idea of how happy the guy is, by then. So, taking it all the way back to the beginning of the show, and it's something that Ray said, if you're not fucking excited about this new appointment, then I really don't know what will excite you, because there's so much. Sorry, Tanner. There's so much of an unknown quantity here. I think that's a great thing in a way. It's great. Yeah?
I think it's more up than down with this appointment.
We could all be educated in something here. We could all see something that hasn't been done before, right? So, happy days.
You're kind of answering my next question. Tanner, I'm going to go to you next. Lundberg Camp, I can't see a league title or Champions League in the next decade. Arsenal's future looking bleak. Soon we won't be seen as a big club anymore. Now my question to you in relation to that, Tanner, is it's my belief the club went with the cheap way to hire Mikel Arteta, but it also could be very, very inspired in the way that it's going to turn out for us, because he is a smart person. And Pep Guardiola, all of the Manchester City players have alluded to the great things that he's done on the pitch, on the training pitch with the players, and the tactical nous that he has sitting alongside Pep, and all of the education he got from Arsene Wenger as well. Heavy question.
What's that?
It's a heavy question.
It is. I guess let me just kind of formulate an answer here for you. It's
that he knows so much about the Premier League. He's a very smart guy. He's helped Pep, and Pep has given him a lot of credit for where Manchester City are right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think he has all the tools. I really do. If you're not, back to kind of what Stan just said, be excited about, here again, the new beginning. If you're not excited about Arteta specifically, okay, I can understand it, but be excited about the new beginning. And at least for the next 18 months, probably, there's the club have a direction, So I just he comes with very, very high praise, not only from the players at City, Guardiola himself. Wenger has spoken very highly of Arteta and what he thought then would be his abilities as a head coach. And even Pochettino has said that he thinks Arteta is going to be a tremendous coach. So the plaudits are all on the table for him. I don't think – let me ask you a quick question, just because I don't know. So I'm trying to satisfy my own curiosity here. But what would you say is the average salary of a top Premier League club's manager? What are Klopp and Guardiola making? Mourinho's getting something like $15 million a season or something like that. So, to say that we took the cheap option, I would say the cheap option would have been to go down to League One or the Championship and call one of those guys up and say, hey, come up here and coach us for $2 million. What do you think Chris Wilder out of Sheffield United, what do you think he would have taken if we would have gone down that road to try and get him? I guarantee you Arteta is more expensive. And if I'm Michael Arteta, I got to tell you, hearing all of this, no experience, Arsenal took the cheap route, this and that, I got to use it as motivation. I have to use it as, pardon the pun, but cannon fodder to I guess that's not really the right term, cannon fodder, ammunition, bottom line, to prove these pundits who he doesn't have experience, Arsenal's too big a club for him to start. But that's bulletin board material to me for him. Yeah. I hope he comes in here with a point to prove. And I'm one of those guys, honestly, that the more I see people hating on something, the more I'm drawn to love it. And everybody keeps slagging him off because of the experience. I am now, honest to God, like, this is my guy. Arteta is now my guy. I want him in here And I want him to, honest to God, I want him to spit shine it, turn it sideways, and stick it up everybody's rear ends who's doubting him.
And Stan, going back to his playing days, Arsene Wenger brought him in to stabilize a squad that was deteriorating. And he acquitted himself quite well as the engine of the midfield.
Well, when we bought him originally, his playing position was more of a central attacking midfielder, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We had someone else. We had someone else in the way. Who was in the squad at the time who was keeping him out? Who was it that we were using in that position? Because we started to drop him back, didn't we?
Yeah, he played further back. He was more of a holding midfielder when he got to Arsenal. Who was that in front of him?
Because when he came from when he was at Everton and Celtic, and at Paris Saint-Germain, he always played more as a central attacking midfielder. He was known for creating goals, scoring some excellent goals. One of my friends is a Celtic supporter back in the day, and I used to see a lot of them play when I lived up there as well. But for some reason, we dropped him back, and it was kind of like an inspired move, wasn't it? Because he was getting a little bit older as well, and he was a panic buy. If you remember when we bought him, it was like it was literally just before the big hand hit the 12, and it was like we've just bought Mikel Arteta. It came out of nowhere.
Along with Mertesacker.
Mertesacker, that was it. Same window.
Yeah, both of them.
But when we bought him, I actually thought that we bought him to be more of an attacking, creative force, and we did kind of use him there. But I can't remember who was in our squad that was keeping him out of that position. It just fails me. I have a bad long-term memory. But what did I think of him as a player for Arsenal? I liked Mikel Arteta as a player for Arsenal. I thought he was a good captain. He's a good speaker. It's always good to have someone who's a good orator on the microphone at the end of games to talk about things. And he's a handsome fellow as well, isn't he?
That good Lego hair.
I mean, it doesn't matter how many times that guy heads the ball. There is not one hair that is out of place. I mean,
yeah, right.
If he never had a contract for some, like for Brill Cream as a sponsorship, and done adverts in Japan that we never saw for Brill Cream, they missed out because he could have been an ambassador for something like that.
I got to tell you too, just along those lines, we have to get the female vote now because our coaching staff, as long as Freddie sticks around, my God, this is going to be the best looking coaching staff in club football in the world.
And Bobby Perez hanging about on the train.
Yeah, right. My goodness.
It's like, take that. We've got to take that as our coaching staff.
I just want you back for good, baby. I just want you back for good.
Players won't will. So what can the club do to help Arteta? What is our positions that we need to target? Surely our fullback. We're desperate a fullback right now.
Got to be looking for something on loan, haven't we, really, to cover for Tierney, because Kolasinac, I don't think he went out injured. But did you notice when he came off, there was all that stuff about him getting off and Saka not being ready and Saka taking all this stuff off. But did you notice how quick Kolasinac was out of there?
He couldn't get out of there quick enough.
He didn't want to know about that game whatsoever. His ankle. He ran off. For someone with a twisted ankle, he didn't get off that pitch pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It was pretty cold that day, Tanner, but he did not want to be there, just not because of the cold.
I don't want to hear anything about cold either. It doesn't get cold over there at all. Let me tell you, I walked out my door this morning. That's cold, boys. That is cold. So I don't want to hear anything about the cold. But,
this is the mentality of our squad. Yeah. Some of the players, they want to turn up just to play. They're not in it for the tough times, Stan.
I'd go as far as to say that we probably need to buy a centre-back. I really hope this Upamecano thing happens, that they take advantage of this contract situation. But it wouldn't hurt us to get two full-backs on loan, a right-back and a left-back on loan to cover, because I'm not sure if Ainsley Maitland-Niles is really up to the job on either of those positions, right-back or left-back, for me.
Yeah. He's manfully done a job, but he's not a right-back.
I think he needs to commit to being a right back. I think if he would just say, okay, I'm done with the midfield thing. I just can't get a sniff there. I'm going to commit myself to learning the nuances of this position and just being a full-time right back. I look, I got to tell you, I like Ainsley Maitland-Niles. I like him a lot. I just need him to commit to that position and learn it, and I think there's something there. I think there's a player there. I really do.
I think we're all old enough to remember Tony Adams, and he would guide players through the game. I don't see that in this present
day. And here again, we don't have those players in this club right now to nurture along the younger players or guys who are playing out of position to say, hey, come over here. Let me talk to you a little bit. This is how to play this position. You know, these are things you could do a little bit better. We don't have those players in the lineup. And again, it goes back to these guys, they're individuals. They're not playing for one another. And that is, man, that is painful to watch. It really is, because this is the ultimate team sport. And we right now, we're the ultimate collection of individuals. That's what it is.
I'm going to flash that banner up again. Culture change. That's what we really, really need to do, Stan. We have a bunch of individuals. They are not a team.
No. I think the Guendouzi thing's been the experiment that we've been doing with Guendouzi. We've played the guy into the ground a little bit. He's not had an opportunity to sometimes watch how the game is played. And I've seen him picking up a few bad habits as well. A little bit of the I just think it's people like Lacazette and Aubameyang. You know, they are sort of like our senior players, and their attitude of late hasn't been acceptable to me. And you've got so many young players in that team. They need to have role models. You know, it's not just about learning how, learning the actual technique of the game. It's about how you carry yourself, And, some of our players, you see them on a training pitch, some of the photos under Freddie. And again, I'm homing in on Mesut Ozil. It's like, if you're going to train, then dress appropriately to train, and not like you're about to climb up Mount Everest or go off to rob a bank. I mean, it's the little things.
Before, Stan.
Sorry?
I know we've had this conversation before.
All right, I'll change the record, but the point that I'm trying to make is it's, sometimes it's the little details, and it just seems to be, if you're talking about a culture change, there needs to be start bringing back in fines. If you're late for training, you pay a fine. When we go to travel to games, we all wear the club suit. Have some kind of uniformity of some kind of discipline. Because, that's what you do in the army. When you're in the army and you're in training, the training part is nothing to like when you get to your battalion. When you get to battalion, you hoover and you've got a carpet. In training, it's wooden floors, and you've got to get on your hands and knees, and you've got to shine that thing so the sergeant can see his face in the mirror. And the reason that you do that is not to learn how to polish a floor. It's about discipline. It's about learning the small things and making sure that you know what needs to be done.
It comes from the top, and it comes from leaders in the dressing room that need to carry that message through as well.
I had to stop there because I was about to do, and I almost went into, Uncle Albert territory of Only Fools and Horses. I almost went, when I was in the army, but that was a long time ago.
Loanberg Camp, thanks for coming in, Loanberg Camp, to join us today. Welcome to the circle. How are the Invincibles all sold within 2 years? It's a disgrace. Our lack of continuity, planning, and ambition have made us mid-table trash. I'll take that question. We were in the midst of financing the new stadium, the move to the new stadium. So Wenger took the attitude that he's going to dismantle the team. There was Chelsea coming to the fore with its financial clout. Wenger obviously took the stance that we were not going to be able to compete with them on the pitch. So the Invincibles were coming. We all wished we could have kept the Invincibles a few more years, but he broke the team up quite quickly in order to finance the stadium, which is mostly paid for now, folks, right?
I believe it's paid off, yeah.
And I don't know what Spurs, they're probably going to be paying their stadium for many, many years now.
A decade at least.
So, yes, you sacrifice something on the field in order to make that move to the Emirates, where we could compete with the Bayern Munichs of the world and Barcelona.
Whoops.
evil even Cadiz again.
You know, we would do things that would excite you. That's what he says.
Yeah. Look what he's doing at AC Milan now. He's ruining them.
I was just going to say he's absolutely destroying that club too.
And his parting gift was to go for Emery over Arteta a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
I think. Sorry.
Go ahead, Stan. No, go ahead.
I was going to say that back when we were looking at Arteta before the Emery appointment, one of the things that I heard was that one of the reasons that they decided not to go for him was that he didn't have any staff to come with him because he was a little bit more fresher then. And I don't know if you've been reading that. There's a few at Man City or one or two at Man City, and there's other names that he has already selected to have a little bit of a team with him. So that's a good sign that he's already got a team in mind that he's going to bring with him and have his own people.
And perhaps he was not ready, perhaps 18 months ago. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where that's going to leave Freddie, though, right? Does Freddie still stay on as one of the coaches of the first team? I think it would be beneficial because we've got all of those, those youngsters that he's brought through, so he could help Mikel Arteta to understand those. Or do you think he might go back down and work with the actual under-23s again alongside Baldy?
Hopefully that's something that's ironed out at the mansion until 1 a.m. that night. Hopefully they ironed all that out. All the paperwork's being processed as we speak. The elves are working.
Why do you think that they didn't speak to Mikel Arteta and Man City when they were in London at the game? Was it there was shell-shocked at the way that we played that they did? Man City got on a coach and left, and then they got in a car or an Uber and said to the taxi driver, "Follow that bus," and just drove all the way up the M1 to Manchester. to see where the coach dropped off Mikel Arteta. They were parked up down the road. That's his house over there, and then waiting for the coach to drive off, and then knocked on his door. I mean,
and then Stan, Twitter's having its own fun with us. We are so cheap that we're having Manchester City take Arteta halfway to Oxford, and we'll pick him up from Oxford and bring him to the Emirates. But you can't but laugh at that. You know what I mean? All right, coming to the weekend. Hopefully, Arteta's in place. We face Carlo Ancelotti.
That should be quite exciting. I mean, we've got, if both of those managers are in place, it's going to be a good watch for Arsenal fans to see what we've got and maybe what we could have had.
Yeah, I think I actually tweeted out yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, but could we see Ancelotti v Arteta come Saturday at Goodison? Be exciting for sure. Duncan Ferguson might kill someone though.
What do you think our chances? I mean, our chances are now to the next match. It's so hard to call, isn't it? It's really so hard to call.
I think if as much as this is not on Freddie at all, but I'm just going to say that if Freddie is still in charge come Saturday at Goodison, I don't think we win. That I actually watched the second half of Everton play Leicester today in the Carabao Cup, and I jokingly say this, and I made the cracks to some folks over in London, but the reason that Everton have had that new manager bump is because Duncan Ferguson will just kill him. If you don't play, he's going to kill you. That's it. It's as simple as that. He's like, listen, I don't really care what you think. I don't care who you are. But if you put that Everton shirt on and you don't play, I will gut you. That's Duncan Ferguson.
He nearly killed that ball boy, didn't he? I mean, if I was that ball boy and I saw Duncan Ferguson running towards me, I would have just done an about turn and had it away my clothes.
This is Everton. I tell you what, I think they came into this season with a fair amount of expectations, and boy, they just. I mean, look, we had expectations. They had expectations. I would much rather be in the position that we're in than where they were here a couple of weeks ago, hovering down. I think they were in 18th at one point.
But Everton's a club that's a perennial. They struggle every year.
Yeah, and it's very strange to me. I don't want to get off on a different topic here and talking about a different team. To bring it back here full circle, I think they're a talented group, and I think they'll give us fits at Goodison Park.
If they play the way they did under their first game under Duncan Ferguson, we could be banging trouble because I thought I was watching Brazil at one point. It was like a totally different team.
Yeah, they came out. Who was that? Chelsea.
Yeah,
I think that was Chelsea at home for them, and they were gangbusters in that game. They looked great.
So even if Mikel Arteta is in charge, I mean, he's not going to have very much time whatsoever to imprint anything on the way that we play.
I'll tell you.
And you'd like to think that the players will be thinking, well, this isn't an interim manager now. This is the guy that's going to be in. And if they want to stay at Arsenal, you'd like to think that they're going to play out of their skins to get into his good books. You'd like to think, right?
I was just going to say, I think you'll learn a lot about where the problems lie right now after this first game. If he's in charge, if Arteta is in charge, I think you're going to learn a lot about where the problems lie based on this game against Everton, because everybody else gets that new manager bump. And if we don't get it, I think you can turn it around and you can look directly at the players and say, these guys just flat out do not want to play. I don't know if it's that they don't want to play for Arsenal or if they're just sick of playing the game in general, but I think we're going to have a pretty clear direction, Ray. At least on a direction on where the problem lies.
And we're starting to see it through Arsene Wenger, through Unai Emery, through Freddie Ljungberg. It's no coincidence at this point. We've had 3 coaches, and the culture is diminishing, is dropping.
Yeah.
I have some notes here. Install a winning mentality. That's what Arteta's got to do. Fight for the badge. We've seen that through the last few seasons. Fighting for the badge has not been there. And rebuild, but we'll see what happens. Ljungberg Camp sold pipe dreams since 2007. Despite ourselves, we did win 3 FA Cups, but we want more. We're about more than that. And hopefully, we have a new coach in place tomorrow. It's going to be announced. Not Sam Allardyce.
When I wake up tomorrow morning, I want to see Mikel Arteta holding up that scarf. But I know I said Sam Allardyce, but what I was really trying to say is it wouldn't surprise me if I woke up tomorrow morning and there was Patrick Vieira, for example. Being more realistic, because this club can come out with some surprises, right? But it does look like it's going to be Mikel Arteta. And
well, let's remember when Emery was appointed. I don't recall seeing one iota of a mention of his name in the rumor mill about being the first I heard Unai Emery in Arsenal was at his introductory press conference. Okay. Everything before that was Arteta. It was we were gonna go after Allegri. I heard Ancelotti's name in there a few times. Nagelsmann, I had heard his name bantied about.
We've had so many names and so many favorites every day.
Yeah,
there's a new favorite every day.
That's the one thing I mean this wholeheartedly with I'll say European journalism. There seems to be no ethics to it whatsoever. I can tell you here in North America, if you hear a rumor, there were at least 2 very credible sources backing that rumor up. Over there, my brother's nephew's dog decided to tell the neighbor's cat down the street who told his uncle's gerbil that my guy's going to fly to the moon tomorrow. And then the journalists take that and they run with it. So-and-so to fly to the moon tomorrow. What? So I really put no stock in rumors that I hear out of European journalists. I appreciate I appreciate the work they do. I have a couple of guys over there, a couple of writers that I do read their work. But even Ornstein, what do they call him? Ornicle? I don't really buy a whole lot of it because they'll go to the agent, they'll go to family members, and these guys are just putting things out there to promote their own agenda. So as far as journalism in Europe is concerned, I don't put a whole lot of stock in it. To Stan's point, wouldn't be surprised if I wake up tomorrow morning and I hear Bill Belichick is the next manager of Arsenal, which, by the way, if that happens, I can tell you this. They will play, period.
I mean, the media had us believing, didn't they, that it was going to be Mourinho. You know, there was all the pictures of him at the match, and then they were certain that it was going to be Nuno Espirito Santos.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
They really had us all believing that, and then we had in between that, we've had Pochettino as well.
Right.
You know, as I say, until I see Mikel Arteta holding up that scarf, I mean, it looks so. I'm still not. You know,
I need to see the alert come across on my phone from Arsenal. Mikel Arteta. Is it Michael Mikel? I have no idea. I call him Mickey, or I'll call him Artie. I like Artie.
Mihal.
Yeah. Until I see the notification on my phone from the club that Arteta has been named the new manager of Arsenal Football Club, I'm really not really gonna believe too much of anything. But boy, they've gotten my hopes up with this. The more that I've heard about this in the past 72 hours, I've gotten pretty excited about it. So I'm
starting to think of the what ifs. What if he's good? What if he can lift our team out of the mire? And do we have confidence that he's going to be given money in January? Given what happened in the summertime, we got Tierney, we got Pepe, but we need to spend it in the right areas.
I think there will be money in January. I think that you saw in the summer that the way that they made their investments, that those people upstairs, they are hell-bent on getting us back into the Champions League because that's where the big money lies. It's vital. That's why Unai Emery is no longer the manager. And it would not surprise me as a little welcome sort of like set yourself in gesture that they do provide something a little bit extra for Mikel Arteta. Whether it's one signing and a couple of loans, I think that we will see new faces in the summer.
I like the optimism, Stan. I got to be honest with you. I'm over here shaking my head no, thinking I just don't see it. I until they actually put out some money, and without having to sell a player to do it, I'm going to go with what history has dictated to me. I need to see something different. I'm hopeful. I hope they put some money out there, and
money's there.
For sure.
Spending money over across the Atlantic to the LA Rams to build that stadium. The most expensive season ticket in the Premier League is Arsenal.
But Raul seems to have an art of going to a club saying, yeah, we'll buy that player. How much? 80, 90, 100 million? Don't worry about it. Signs all the paperwork. And then when he leaves and they check all the paperwork, they're like, they're paying us £5 a week. What the hell?
Right, yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah, we can bring in anyone, right? Raul does have a way of brokering his deals, right?
Yeah, he did it with Pepe.
Yeah.
All right, so thanks for coming in. I really appreciate both of you guys joining the circle tonight. Final question: optimistic for the rest of the season?
You want to go, Stan?
There's no ball being kicked yet. Mikel Arteta is inexperienced. It could be anything. I'm excited. I'm optimistic. Let's see what we can do. I think we finish 6th or 7th.
Maybe we'll have a gigantic, enormous manager bounce. Now, the one that we didn't get from Freddie. Might this one, with Arteta, and we might just go on an unbeaten run to the end of the season. Who knows? Who knows?
I'll tell you what. If it's Arteta, I'll be optimistic. If it's Arteta, if it's pretty much anybody else at this point, I'm kind of like, I think they may have missed the mark. So I think it's got to be Arteta, and I'll be optimistic. And I am not losing hope in the Europa League either. That's still on the table. Still on the table. I think finishing top 4 is going to be difficult, even with an unbeaten run from now.
7 points. 7 points.
Yeah, we talked about that in a previous episode. I think right before we left, Ray, you were talking about how many points you thought we would have to secure between now and the end of the season.
Yeah. We still need 10 points every 5 games still.
Yeah, and we're what, ninth, I think? Yeah, we're ninth right now.
Yep.
And to get into the top 4, we have to leapfrog 5 other clubs. And that's just forget the number of points. It's when you start taking into consideration that all of these other 5 clubs have to drop points somewhere in the basically the same time frame. The likelihood of it happening is, I'm not going to say it's astronomical, but it's not far off. It's the more clubs you put in between yourself and your goal, and top 4 would be our goal. It's going to be pretty tough to do, and then take into consideration our -3 goal differential. So boy, let's hope that doesn't come back to bite us in the ass.
We're in a rebuilding state right now, so hopefully we've reached rock bottom. Hopefully,
that would be, yeah. If this is rock bottom, boy, let's start to climb this ladder and get out of this, and hopefully the board, ownership, hopefully they've had enough of this, and I think, ownership, they want to win. I was asked this question while I was in London. Does ownership want to win? Do I believe in the Cronkies? They want to win, but they are businessmen, and they want to make money. And the one thing with certain owners of sports franchises, will see they're making money, and that is the absolute most important thing to them. Winning is incredibly secondary. That happens with the baseball team in my city here, the Pittsburgh Pirates. The owner couldn't care less about winning. It's all about the bottom line. The Cronkies want to win. They are ambitious. And the fact of the matter is, you needn't look any further than the stadiums that they're building. They built the Emirates. Let's face it. If Kroenke doesn't come in, the Emirates doesn't get built when it got built. Not saying it wouldn't have happened eventually, but it doesn't get built when it did. And you look at this spaceship-looking thing that they're building out in Englewood, California for the Rams. That is ambition.
How much are they spending on that? Do you know?
Well, at last quote, it was like $6.4 billion that he's spending on it. I would encourage you guys both, and folks who are listening and watching us here, do your research on the Cronkies, the NFL, and this new stadium. And you will see, because the one thing that folks over there don't understand, and I hope we don't lose viewers for this and I lose followers and everything, but I had a conversation, a very good and productive conversation with Robbie from AFTV off camera, after the game. And we were talking, and he said to me, well, that's all he's doing is taking money. He's using Arsenal to leverage building the stadium for the Rams. That's really not it. It's you're a business owner. You have other businesses to use as leverage to do something in another business. That's the way it's going to work. He used the ownership in the Rams and the Avalanche and the Denver Nuggets to build the Emirates. He did the same thing there. So there, with ownership, there's ambition. Sorry, guys, I kind of went off on a rant here, but there is ambition from ownership. Is it the ambition that we as supporters want to see? No. And the fact is, it never will be, because this is a business to them. We're supporters. There's a massive difference between the two, but they do want to win. And I think they do have ambition. So I think they need to learn the difference between American sport and Premier League or European football. I think they need to learn the difference in the businesses.
Wow. So it all comes back to this culture change.
Yeah.
Both on the field and at boardroom level. And
top to bottom.
Hopefully our boardroom is working for the Arsenal fans more than they're working for the Cronkies, because we need success.
Yeah.
Listen, I want to thank you both for coming in. If you have any more points, let them be known now, or forever hold your peace.
At least until the next show.
A new era hopefully starts tomorrow. I don't want to use the word be excited, but let's be pumped a little bit about it and be hopeful for the future. Nothing's happened. We don't know what Mikel Arteta is going to be like as a coach. Let's give him the time to show us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we gave the support to Emery, so why can't we give and Freddie? So why can't we give the same to Mikel?
Yep.
Yeah. And to all the viewers watching this live or on playback, I want to ask you a special request for the 1 year anniversary. If you like one of this episode or any other episode in this podcast, share it with a friend, tell somebody, let them know about Arsenal Fan Circle, and we can grow the channel. But thanks to Stan for coming in all the way from Vancouver.
Thanks for having me.
Check out Stan on Sunny TV Unfiltered. He does some great post-game interviews, and you're kind of a natural, Stan. I got to give you a compliment.
Thank
You
you.
and Mike do a great job there.
Cheers.
The bearded gooner, the Sky Sports pundit.
Yeah.
Give him a follow on his YouTube channel. He doesn't need any follows on Twitter. He's exploding there. He got about 300 or 400 follows in the last 2 weeks whilst escapading over there in London.
That's amazing because when I was over there in August, the same thing happened. I went from like 300 to 800, and then it just
all the people in the pubs.
I guess. Hey, I want to put this out there real quick. I don't know if you guys saw it. I put a thing up on Twitter, but I got followed by Smudge. I was sitting on the airplane, and I was sitting on the plane on the tarmac in Boston, getting ready to fly home last night. And he answered me, and he said he would give me a 2-week trial. So he's following me for 2 weeks. I messaged him tonight to try to get him on Friday on my channel for about 10 to 15 minutes. If we do, in fact, hire Arteta and it's announced tomorrow, I asked him for a 10 to 15 minute interview just to ask him what his thoughts are on it and things like that. It's not going to, I'm not going to railroad him. I'm not going to, I'm not going to ambush him. It's not. It won't be anything like that.
Ambush him. I'll help you.
It's strictly professional. Strictly professional. So, but hopefully he answers me and he agrees to come on. Like I said, it does hinge on it being Arteta and being announced tomorrow. It's out there. So I'm hoping he answers in a positive way and gives me 10 to 15 minutes of his time. So, but if not, I'm certainly not gonna cry over spilled milk. The guy's busy and he doesn't know me from Adam. So
tomorrow you will have him on at some point. You got to follow out of him right now. So
yeah, we'll see. Fingers crossed. So stay tuned for that. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you subscribe to my channel on YouTube, might have Alan Smith on here in the next 36 to 48 hours.
So kudos to both of you, what you're doing with Sunny TV, Unfiltered, Stan, and Tanner, YouTube and Twitter. And of course, Stan, you're active on Twitter as well. Mostly putting those emojis in between a few vowels and consonants. I think the viewers will know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Until next time, we're going to close the show or else we could be here forever.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in trouble if I'm here forever. This has been another episode of the Arsenal Fan Circle. Thanks for coming in. A new era starts tomorrow. Come on, you Gooners. Up the Arsenal. Thank you to my guests once more. And we'll see you next time.
Cheers, boys.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.